Dear gracias, how are you today? I hope you all doing fine. So today we will discuss a new lesson. But before we dive into our lesson, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Sweetie Jin Ansad and I will be your presenter for this video. But before we dive into our topic, let's have first a little activity. Alright? Okay, so this is the activity. So let your teacher or a classmate whose cell phone features differ from yours use your cell phone. So I want you to observe, was she or he able to use your cell phone without your help? Or did she or he need your help? So I will give you 5 minutes to observe. Are you done? Okay, so based on our activity, can you guess what will be our topic for today? Alright, so no one knows. So our topic for today is all about transfer of learning. So teachers want their students to apply the knowledge and skills they learn in class to other situation. So when one recognizes a situation as something similar in a way what he has experienced before, so his tendency is to use the knowledge and skills he has learned to this new situation. So this is what transfer of learning is all about. So before we dive into our discussion, let us first read the objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to explain how transfer of learning occurs, identify the factors that affect transfer of learning, apply principles of transfer in facilitating transfer of learning. So in transfer of learning, we have types of transfer and conditions and principles of transfer. So let's first tackle about what is transfer of learning. So transfer of learning happens when learning in one context or with one set of materials. So simply put, it is applying to another situation what was previously learned. So it means that transfer of learning is when you use what you've learned in one situation to help you in another situation. So it's like taking a skill you have and using it to somewhere else. So example, learning to use roller skates later helps a person to learn more quickly to ice skates. So you already have a knowledge about roller skates, so it is easier for you to learn ice skates. Alright? So another example is, imagine you learn how to play the piano. So later, you decided to learn how to play the keyboard. Because you already know about music, notes, and using your fingers from playing the piano, so it will be easier for you to learn the keyboard. That's a transfer of learning is all about. So in short, transfer of learning is using your previous knowledge in a new situation. Okay, so let's proceed to the types of transfer. So the types of transfer, we have positive transfer, negative transfer, near transfer, and far transfer. The first type of transfer is a positive transfer. So positive transfer occurs when learning in one context improves performance in some other context. So for example, if you speak Spanish, it will be easier to learn Mexican than to learn Japanese because Spanish and Mexican share similar words and grammar. So positive transfer is when something you already know makes it easier to learn something new. So it is like your old knowledge or your previous knowledge helps you do better in a new situation. So another example of it is if you are good at math, so you might find it easier to learn computer programming because programming often uses math concepts, diba? So your math skills positively transfer to your ability to learn programming because you already have a knowledge about mathematics. So the second type of transfer is a negative transfer. So negative transfer occurs when learning in one context impact negatively on performance in another. So for example, a student who studies Spanish might find it hard to learn French because Spanish grammar rules interfere with French grammar rules. So negative transfer is when something you already know makes it harder to learn something new. So your old knowledge gets in the way. So another example is, imagine that you're used to playing one video game with certain rules. So when you try a new game, you keep trying to use the same moves, but they don't work or do the wrong thing. So your old game habits mess you up in the new game. So that is an example of a negative transfer. So in short, negative transfer is when something you already know makes it harder to learn something new. So your old habits interfere. That is negative transfer was all about. So let's proceed to the third type of transfer, which is the near transfer. So near transfer refers to transfer between very similar contexts. So this is also referred to as specific transfer. So for example, when a student is learning to use a new cell phone that is somehow similar to the one she had before, so that is near transfer. So this is when you use what you learned in one situation to help you in a very similar situation. So the two situations are closely related. So another example of it is, think that, let's say, you learn to use Microsoft Word 2016, then you have to use Microsoft Word 2019. Because the two versions are so similar, your knowledge from the first version will easily transfer to the second version. So that is near transfer. So near transfer is when you use what you learned in one situation and apply it to a very similar situation. And it is also called a specific transfer. The last type of transfer is a far transfer. So far transfer refers to a transfer between contexts on appearance seem remote and alien to one another. So this is also called general transfer. So for example, if you learn how to debate, you develop strong thinking skills, diba? So these skills can help you understand and write better essays in history class, even though debating and history seem very different. So for transfer, this is when you use what you learn in one situation to help you in a situation that seems very different or unrelated. So the two situations don't appear to have much in common first. So I will give you another example. So example, if you learn how to be a good leader in a school club. So later, you get a job and use those same leadership skills to help your team work well together. So even though school and work are very different. So that is far transfer. So far transfer is using skills from one situation to help in a very different situations or area. That is far transfer. So now, let's move on to the conditions and principles of transfer. So you will be the one to read what's on the screen and I will just explain it to you directly. So, we have similarity between two learning situations. So, the principle is it means that the more alike two situations are, the easier it is to use what you learned in one in the other. So the implications means try to learn things in a way that's as similar as possible to where you'll use them. And next is meaningfulness of learning. So that principle is means it's easier to use learning if it makes sense to you rather than just memorizing it. And the implication is when you're learning something new, try to connect it to things you already know. And next is length of learning time. So the principles means that the more time you spend learning something, the better you'll be able to use it in different situations. And the implication, so it means it's better to learn a few things well than to learn many things a little bit. So that is it. So next is variety of learning experiences. So in principle, this means that seeing many different examples and getting to practice helps you use what you learn in new situations. So in implication, use lots of different examples to show new ideas and plan activities so you can practice what you've learned. And next is context for learners' experiences. So the principles here means it is easier to use what you learned if you find out if you find out how it fits into different situations. So the implications means that connect what you are learning to other subjects and to real life situations. So next is focus on principles rather than tasks. So in principle, it means it's easier to use general rules than specific facts in new situations. In implications means focus on the main rules and how to use them instead of just memorizing facts. And next, emphasizing on metacognition. So the principles means thinking about how you learn helps you use what you learn in new situations. So the implications means that think about how you are learning and what you've learned and take responsibility for your own learning. So that is conditions and principles of transfer. So we are done with our discussion and now it's time for quiz time. Quote for the day. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great by Zig Ziglar. That will be all and thank you and take care everyone. Bye.